Yeah. Look, good to be back. Obviously, the last time this tournament was played, I walked away from the course in the tournament pretty happy with myself, as you can see on the screen over there. But yeah, it's always great to be back at the Masters. Feel like obviously the whole field has sort of been building up to this point. The entire calendar year. So good to be back. As you said, I've been up here quite a bit. Recent weeks I've played 81 holes in the last sort of 2.5 weeks. So sort of very familiar with the place again, and obviously just looking forward to getting the week started.
Perfect. I'm going to open it up to questions. Jeff?
Rory, you're thinking of playing a lot here in advance. What's kind of the thinking behind that, and then just sort of your take on 13 after playing it again yesterday with Tiger and the group?
Yeah. I think more than anything else, it's just fun. It's fun to be here. It's fun to play. It's a treat. I came up here last Thursday. I was sort of just on a whim. I texted Shane Lowry and I said, look, we're going to be practicing in Florida. Why don't we just go up here for a day? And, so, it's just a treat to come up here and play. And just, I feel like you go around here, and whether you learn something new or not, it's just a nice way to spend a day. So yeah, there's no real thinking behind playing more so than other years. It's just, it's fun to be up here. And 13 is, the second shot's much more challenging than it used to be. The tee shot is a little, there's probably less thought that needs to go into the tee shot. You don't need to do as much with it. You don't need to turn it around the corner as much. But, that second shot, I had a really, I had two tee shots there yesterday, and the second tee shot I took just a little further left and had a 5-iron in, and that ball is a good 18 inches or 2 feet above you. It's a big decision, and I've listened to some of the guys. I think DJ said yesterday that if he had more than a 5-iron in, he was probably going to lay up. And I think depending on where the hole location is as well, you're going to see guys lay up to some pins and maybe go for some others. But it certainly puts the choice back in your mind. That there never, since I've played here since 2009, there's never really been a choice. If you hit a good tee shot, you go for the green. But now there's a decision to be made.
Daniel?
Obviously different communicating online or through headlines than being in person with someone. And so as a week like this, where there's 18 live guys and a bunch of PGA Tour guys, and all of you guys are intermingling, and it seems like everything is okay, does it sort of change the dynamic between you guys?
Yeah, look, it's not as if I don't see, some of these guys at home on weeks off. I see Brooks quite a lot. I see DJ quite a lot. We sort of all practice at the same place. So, yeah, but as you said, I think the more face time you get with people, the more comfortable you become in some way. I think I'm going to go play 9 holes with Brooks here in a little bit. So it's, look, and there's so many, it's a very nuanced situation, and there's different dynamics, and, it's okay to, get on with Brooks and DJ and maybe not get on with some other guys that went to it, right? Like it's a, interpersonal relationships. That's just how it goes. But, this is, this week in this tournament is way bigger than any of that, I feel. And it's just great that all the best players in the world are together again for the first time in what seems to be quite a while.
Oliver? Okay, Brian?
Rory, you've had so many great experiences here over the years and a few other challenging years. Just wondering what's the difference between accumulating, experience and perhaps accumulating a little bit of scar tissue?
I think you have to go through everything, right? Like I don't think not every experience is going to be a good experience. I think that would lead to a pretty boring life. You have to learn from those challenges and learn from some of that scar tissue that's built up. But, I felt last year that I maybe shed some of that scar tissue and felt like I sort of made a breakthrough. So, I'm feeling as sort of relaxed as I ever have coming in here, just in terms of, feel like my game's in a pretty good place, and, I know the place just about as well as anyone. So, but yeah, good experiences, bad experiences, it all adds up at the end of the day, and, you probably learn a bit more from those bad experiences, and I feel like I've done pretty well at, sort of putting those lessons into my play and being better because of them.
Don?
Rory, I guess you've had a few years to think about the answer to this question. If you can win here at Augusta, how would it feel to be mentioned in the same breath as Saracen, Poker, and Tiger, Jack, and Tiger?
Feel pretty good. Yeah, look, I mean, it's, one of the biggest 4 tournaments in the world. Wherever you rank them is up to you, as we've seen this week. But it's a major championship. I've won 4 of them. I've been knocking on the door for that 5th one for a while. So, I feel like I'm, as good, if not better, a player as I was the last time I won a major championship. So, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Gary?
Rory, starts here, not particularly ideal for you, last 4 in particular. One, does it have anything to do with the weightiness of the potential accomplishment of winning here? And secondly, there's only one guy since '05 that it was outside the top 10 after the first round that has won. And that was Tiger twice, '05 and '19. Do you have any theory as to why that might be?
I think the way that, excluding the back 9 on Sunday with some of the hole locations, I think it's a very difficult course to chase on. You start to fire at pins and you start short-siding yourself and you're missing it in the wrong spots. It's hard to make up a lot of ground. Once you get off to a good start, you can, what's the biggest thing here at Augusta? Greens and regulation, hitting greens. And if you get off to a good start, it's way easier to get into that mindset when you've been off to, a fast start. But if you're, say you shoot a couple over that first day, then you start having to chase just to make the cut, or, try to get yourself back in the tournament. That's when this golf course can really sort of step up and bite you. So I think that's part of the reason.
Meredith?
Talking with the patrons, there is an incredible amount of support for you this year. People really want to see you clinch that career Grand Slam. Do you feel that patron support, and does that make a difference?
Yeah, look, I'm incredibly lucky that I feel like I get supported pretty well wherever I go. And yeah, no one wants me to win this tournament more than me, right? So I don't feel like the support is like a weight of expectation, but it's incredibly nice, and I'm incredibly grateful that I do have that support. And if that can help me 0.5% to get through this week, then I'll take it.
Anand?
Hi, Rory. Have you spoken to Phil Mickelson at all? And just curious about your thoughts about his return after last year's absence.
I have not spoken to Phil, but it's great to see him back. He's a 3-time champion here. We're not even 2 years removed from him doing what I believe is one of the greatest feats in the game of golf, winning the PGA Championship at 51 years of age or whatever it was. So it's good to have him back.
Rory, I want to ask you, with the ball changes proposed by the USGA and R&A, and what's happened with Augusta at the 13th in 2023, there's so many ways in which you can, I guess, moderate golf courses. So you think, is chasing after or trying to rein in technology a better way to do it?
It's, there's so many angles that you could come at this argument. I think the only thing that you can regulate when it comes to golf is the equipment. Like we can't regulate the way a course is set up. We can't regulate the size of a course. We can, for me, it's, does, Augusta National have lengthened to 13th tee, and they've went to great lengths to do that, just in terms of, the money that was spent and everything else that goes on around it. So, not every golf course in the world has that luxury. So, to me, it's, if we really want to keep the old historical venues relevant, if that's something that's really important to the game of golf, then I'd say that this is a step in the right direction. But as you said, as I said, there's so many different angles that you can attack this argument, and it's so nuanced, and everyone has you make one argument, and someone has just as good a counter argument the other way. So it's a big deal, and it could dramatically change the landscape of our game going forward. But I'm certainly in the camp that I believe that it's the right thing to do.
Kyle?
Yeah, Rory, when you think about whatever struggles you've had here over the years, they're pretty relative, bunch of top 10, second last year, but when you do think about those struggles, do you categorize them more as physical, mental, or emotional struggles?
I'd say the majority are mental and emotional struggles rather than physical. I've always felt like I've had the physical ability to win this tournament, but it's being in the right headspace to let those physical abilities sort of shine through. So, and there's, going back to Gary's question, a few moments ago, it's been, tentative starts, not, putting my foot on the gas early enough. It's been, I've had a couple of, bad 9 holes that have sort of thrown me out of the tournament at times. So it's sort of just like, I've got all the ingredients to make the pie. It's just, putting all those ingredients in and setting the oven to the right temperature and sort of letting it all sort of come to fruition. But I know that I've got everything there. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
Scott?
Roy, last month, the players, you were obviously uncomfortable with your driver and trying to work that out. Were you at all concerned about your readiness for this event at that point? And obviously, it seems like things worked out pretty well in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I was, arguably the biggest tournament of the year before this one. I missed the cut, and I played the first 2 rounds with the guy that went on and won the tournament by 5, and felt like I was not in the best place. But as I said before, those struggles and those experiences, I think they're the things that you learn from, and I definitely used that week after the players. I came up here for a couple of days, and then I worked with the guys at TaylorMade to find a driver and get really dialed in. And obviously I was really happy with how that performed at the match play in Austin a couple of weeks ago. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders in a way. If I can drive the ball well, it's the foundation of my game, and I can really play from there and take advantage of that. And I sort of struggled with the driver for most of this year, but I feel like I really found one that I'm comfortable with, that I can shape both ways, that I can maneuver and hit all the shots that I need, not just for here, but for the whole year going forward.
Mark?
Hey, Rory. You've been around Tiger for not all of his levels of play, but quite a few, and I'm just kind of curious what you're seeing out of him when you guys played, and how he looked yesterday in your mind, and if you think that he still has it in him to contend here and win again. He
looks good. If he didn't have to walk up these hills and have all of that, I'd say he'd be one of the favorites. I mean, he's got all the shots but it's just that physical limitation of walking 72 holes, especially on a golf course as hilly as this. So, but again, like as we all know, we never count Tiger out, and and he can do incredible things. But you watch him on the range, and you watch him hit chips and putts, and he's got all the aspects of the game that you need to succeed around this place. The question is just the toll that it takes on his body to make it around 72 holes.
Jimmy?
Hi, Rory. A moment ago, you talked about headspace being the critical factor, and I'm just wondering, how is your headspace this year?
It's great. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's terrible.
Have you done anything? Have you? I guess the question is then, have you done anything different in terms of approach then?
No, I think the best way for me to feel like I'm in a good headspace is to be as prepared as I possibly can be, and I feel really prepared. And I think when you feel that way and you feel like you've done everything that you need to do, you sort of just get into a different level of comfort. And I think I'm pretty much there.
Phil?
Hi, Rory. I don't know if you're aware that the Times has reported this morning that the DP World Tour has won its case against the LIV players. Just wondering if I can get your reaction to that, please.
It looks like it's not going to be announced until Thursday, so I don't really, I don't know if I can comment on it too much. But if that is the outcome, then that certainly changes the dynamic of everything a bit.
That's something you would welcome. I know it's hard for you to comment on it, but would you welcome? Did you think that's the right decision?
I'm not a lawyer, but if the arbitration panel think that that's the right decision, then I have to go by what they say.
Joy.
Rory, two-part question from the region that I come from. You started this season very differently from Dubai. So is there anything else specifically that you did differently after Dubai getting ready for this tournament? That's number one. And number two is, when a phenom like Maya wins the DCP over here, and you have played such an important mentoring role for her, what are the things that you say to kids like that?
So in terms of different things from Dubai, nothing really. I obviously played Dubai at the start of the year, and it's actually been a pretty good. It's been a happy hunting ground for future Masters champion. I think Danny Willett won in 16 and won the Masters. I think Sergio won it in 17, went on to win the Masters. So, that would be nice to emulate them. But yeah, Maya, she has, she's been targeting, that drive, chip, and putt for forever, it seems like. And to see her go there and perform the way that she did and win, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Maya. She was incredible, and it was great to see. And she's an amazing golfer. She's an amazing human being, but I'm really proud of her.
To piggyback on that a little bit, when you work with Fax, you do games, not drills, on the putting green. And you had these kids the other day out there on 18 hitting putts at Augusta National.
I saw some of them were aim pointing, which is like, oh my goodness.
That was painful.
Yeah.
But in a sense, is that sort of the freedom you're seeking in this journey that you're trying to find as a putter?
Yeah, that's Bob Rotella tells me all the time. Just pretend you're 6 years old again. Did you read a putt? No. Did you? You just went purely on instinct. And usually instinct is as you perceive to get smarter and get more wisdom, you start to question that instinct more and more. But every time you go back to it, it seems like that instinct is the right answer at the start. So, yeah, the more we can, there's a lot of us that play golf in this room. The more that we can be childlike on and around the greens, the better, I think.
Howard?
Rory, you mentioned earlier about your physical preparation, and then you mentioned the mental and emotional toll to Kyle. What sorts of mental and emotional practice have you done coming into this to get prepared for this week?
Yeah, just I've worked with Bob Rotella now pretty consistently for the last couple of years, and just chats with him, I always feel a bit better about everything, a bit better about myself after I sort of have a chat with him. So, he's actually getting in today. We're going to spend a little bit of time tonight and tomorrow, and just sort of I just feel, after I talk to him, just a lot more relaxed, a lot more loose, a lot more confident in myself. So, I'd say if talking about the mental side of things, I'd just sort of focus on the sort of chats that I've been having with Bob.
James?
Or as you look back at, 10 plus years of witnessing changes to Augusta National, I'm wondering which changes stand out as the most significant?
I think, the new tees, so the new fifth tee, I think was a big change that made that whole play significantly differently. Obviously the tee box on 13 this year. There's been a couple of green changes that have, the 13th green's been softened quite a bit in the last few years. But I think overall the first time I played here, we were still hitting balls on the old practice range. So, that new tournament practice range is a lot nicer and a lot better than the old one as well. So, but yeah, massive changes. And I probably, like most of you, I read that Golf Digest article earlier this week by Joel Beal and talking about the expansion and how Augusta's really, as much as they're steeped in history and tradition, how they're on the forefront of sort of pushing things forward. So, pretty cool to see, and it's been pretty cool to see how they've balanced that history and that tradition, but with, an eye to the future as well.
Gene?
Rory, not to put too fine of a point on it, but you gestured toward that photo earlier. Is there any sort of carryover effect from that moment and that feeling to now?
The only thing I could say is that I proved to myself that I could do it. As much as I didn't really get into contention, there was a part of me on that back nine last year that thought that I had a chance. And to play the way I did and to eagle 13 and to have those feelings, in my mind anyway, I felt like it was a breakthrough. So, anytime I see an image like that, or, the video of me and then Colin doing what he did as well, sort of just brings back all those good vibes.
Nick?
Rory, why would this week be different compared to previous years for you?
Why would this week
be different for you compared to previous years?
I don't know. Did I say that?
Could it be?
Could it be? Hopefully. As I said to Kyle beside you, I feel like I've got all the ingredients. It's just about putting them all together over the next 4 days.
Don?
Rory, there's now a clear gap between the world's top three and everybody else. What are you, Scotty, and John doing that nobody else is doing?
I don't know. I look at both of those guys, and it's hard to see them not consistently finishing in the top 10 of every tournament that they play. They both have. They both do it a different way. They both sort of have different attitudes towards the game. But it just seems like every week that we're playing, one of us has got a chance to win that tournament. Going back to Kapalua the first week of the year, and then me in Dubai, and then Scotty in Phoenix, and then John in LA, and then Scotty in the Players, and then Scotty and I at match play. It just seems like one of us three is popping up every week that we play with a chance to win, and that's the level that we all want to be at. And I think that seeing, for me anyway, seeing those two guys consistently performing at that level just pushes me to want to be better.
Have you discussed the dominance that you're now showing?
I just had breakfast with John Ram, and that didn't come up, no.
No? Tom, last two questions. Tom?
Rory, yesterday Cam was in here talking about the need for them, or the want for them, for a live golfer to win this. And what's your reaction to that us versus them mentality they have, which I don't think exists with you guys? And if you or a PGA Tour peer wins, will you storm the 18th green?
Depends who it is. I think that only puts more pressure on themselves to, if they're not just playing for themselves, but they're playing for this cause or whatever. And that might help in some way. I don't know, but as I said before, I think this tournament is bigger than all of that. It's a narrative and it's a storyline, but the Masters and the 4 major championships sit above all that noise, and that's the way it should be this week.
Last question, Jamie?
Rory, when you first burst on the scene, a lot of people said, this kid's definitely going to win the Masters. His game's tailor-made for that course. All these years on, do you feel that way about the course? Do you feel as if it plays to your strengths, perhaps more than any other major venue?
I mean, it does, but they said the same thing about Ernie Els, said the same thing about Greg Norman. No, I'm not mentioning Liv. But there's been players before that, that has been said, that, this course is tailor-made for those players, and they haven't went on to win a green jacket. So, that's always in my mind too. It's like, it's not just because a place is deemed, perfectly set up for your game, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to win it one day. There's more to it than that. There's also been players that you would think this golf course wouldn't set up well for them, and then they've went on and won a green jacket. So, look, it's a factor, and it's nice to know that I come back to this place every year, and that if I play the way I know that I can, that I should have a good chance. So, I don't need to do anything differently this week. I go out and play the way I know that I can, get myself in with a chance to win, and then, those last couple hours on Sunday, it's not about whether the course sets up well for you. It's about who can hold it together the best.
Thanks very much, Rory. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.